Take it out. That's all right.
There you go. Just wing it, buddy. You can do it. You just bring it. One more time.
Claire, thanks for building that ramp. That's pretty fun. My name's Tyler. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Tyler.
I somehow lost my notes coming in here, so that's a good thing. We're just going for it. Speak from the heart. Thanks, man. I just want to thank everyone for being here. I'm terrified of public speaking, but I've done it before, and it is something that helps me grow. It's good for me, and if just somebody gets something out of this, it's a success. So let's rock and roll. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Right. I'm just going to start out when I was about 14 years old. I was just a really big pothead. First time I smoked pot, I loved the effect that it gave me, and I wanted to smoke pot until the day I died. You know, I was a skateboarder, you know, just skating around with my friends. We'd go under bridges, hide a pop can, you know, make a pipe out of a pop can, get stoned. That's back when there was a lot of brickweed and seeds, and you know, you don't find that anymore. So just skateboard all day and smoke weed. That was my life. So about when I was 15 years old, I went to a party. It was my friend's 15th birthday party, and she had one of those mothers that was really cool about letting the friends over. You can drink over there. Just don't go anywhere. So this is the day that kind of awakened King Alcohol. Awakened the alcoholism in me. You know, over my years, anything that gave me a good feeling, I was addicted to. I chased it. You know, my drug of choice is whatever you got and can we do more? So, we were drinking Sky Vodka made these little malt beverages, and I remember being a little nervous about drinking. You know, what's it going to do to me? I had about 3 of those. Nothing happened. I told my friend. I said, "Hey, I don't feel anything." So he said, "All right." Well, he pulled out a bottle of Goldschlager. I remember seeing the little gold flakes in there and thinking, "Man, is this safe to drink?" I had 2 shots of that. It wasn't nothing but a couple minutes, and I felt that effect, and I loved it. I remember laying on the floor and just laughing and thinking, "Man, this is the best feeling ever, ever." This blows marijuana away, and from that point, I drank every chance I could get. You know, just being a teenager, you always had parties you could go to, but when there wasn't parties, I stole alcohol. That was the only way I could get it. A few times, you know, I would just walk into a gas station, grab a case of beer, and run out. One time I went in there and I went to run out, and the door was locked. You know, the cashier had a little lock button behind the door. So she told me, "Hey, you gonna pay for that?" And I said, "No." She said, "Get the hell out of here." So that was pretty sketchy. You know, the easiest way to do it was just go to a grocery store, fill the cart up with Budweiser, go to the end of the aisle where they're all closed, and walk out. Let's see here. And then, from there I got in a little bit of trouble. This is in South Florida. I quit school, didn't care about school. The only thing that was on my mind was party and party more, you know. So my mother and my stepdad said, "Hey, if you're gonna quit school, you gotta go. There's only so much of couch hopping at my friend's house and finding out where I'm gonna go." So I called my dad. I had enough of that, and I said, "Hey, So I called my father, who lived here in Nebraska. All right, that's better. Thanks, Tim. I told him what was going on, and he said, hey, you want to come to Nebraska? I got a car for you. You can work with me doing siding. I said, well, you bet. So that's what brought me back here to Nebraska. So I tried to go back to school here. I lasted about 3 months. I got kicked out for marijuana. So I started working. And then I met my two guys that I got my first apartment there in York. I was about 18 years old. They were over 20, they were 21. So now, man, I got 2 roommates that can buy my alcohol. We went to work every day. They bought my alcohol, man. I hit the jackpot. This is a progressive illness. Over a considerable time, we get worse, never better. That was just fueling my alcoholism. So over time, you know, I worked at a couple places in York, ended up getting a roofing job, moved to Utica, Nebraska, where I met one of my best friends, who passed away 3 years ago, part of this disease. Rest in peace, Tim. So now we're roofing, man. We're making good money. We're working hard and we're playing hard. Cheap rent. So I worked hard and I spent all my money at the local bar. You had the bowling alley, you had the Legion, and you had the bar, all in one block where I live. Yeah. So that's just fueling fire to my alcoholism, man. I think I'm having fun, but you know, going to work drunk or hungover every day, but I was still there. I wasn't worth the shit. One time about that time, I went to a street dance, and I remember just buying about $50 worth of drink tickets, starting out with Crown and Coke. Things got real blurry. I woke up in the Seward Hospital with an IV in me, and a policeman sitting next to me, and I didn't know how I got there. Well, they found me on the side of the street, passed out, and couldn't wake me up. So when I got dismissed from there, my discharge papers, plain and simple, just said no more alcohol in big bold letters. Well, me and my roommate thought that was a badge of honor. We hung that on the fridge. It's the things I look back at now and just shake my head. Met my friend Jimmy there when I was living there. Some of you know him. I worked part-time there, cooking, he bartended. And I'll tell you what, when we closed that bar down, we locked the door and we drank till 4 in the morning. We think it was a good time at the time. We weren't worth the shit when we went to work. So, I don't want to run out of time, so I'm just going to fast forward to August 11th, 2009, the day my life changed forever. Give me a second, guys, I'm getting a little dizzy. Hold on. No, I'm good. So at that time, I'm working with my father doing siding and windows. I got really drunk the night before at a small town bar. I didn't go to work. My dad was pissed. I had a donut on my car. So I was like, all right, I missed work. I better make this day a little productive. Well, what do? I go to the gas station, get a 12-pack of beer. I go to the local junkyard, buy a spare tire. I fix my tire, start slamming beers. You know, alcohol was always my solution, whether it was Monday through Sunday, rainy, shiny. If I had to do some chores, clean the house, mow the lawn, fix my car, alcohol needed to be involved because I thought that it made things better. So I ended up at my friend's house, we're doing bong rips. By that time, I'm probably 30 beers deep. I see my dad that evening, we get into an argument, he's pissed off. I want to go to Lincoln with him to pick up material. He says, hell no, you need to go home and sober up. Well, I went home, but I didn't sober up. I went over to my friend's house. He said, hey man, I'm gonna rent this house in the country. You wanna come check it out with me? I said, you bet. We went to his friend's house, his friend wasn't home. There's a tractor out there by the field. So I tell him, hey, start that freaking tractor up. And I'm getting in the bucket, man, we're gonna cruise around. So I get up there. And this is when things start to get a little blurry. I remember a lot of it. I just remember I was severely intoxicated. I was in the bucket of a tractor. I mean, it's an old tractor, one of them janky tractors. I'd been drinking all day, so of course I had to take a leak. And the last thing I remember was pissing out of that tractor, you know. And next thing I know, I flipped backwards and I landed right on my head, you know. And it didn't knock me out. I see that green, whoever's been hit in the head before, you see that bing, that green flash, and that woke my ass up. Next thing I know, I can't get up. I can't move my legs. I tell my friend, hey! I can't move my freaking legs, man. Call 911. Well, he's freaking out. He thinks I'm, you know, it's not as serious. So he's trying to pull me up. As he's pulling me up, I say, no, leave me the F alone, dude. I can't feel my legs. I broke my back or my neck. Call 911. So he pinches my leg as hard as he can. And when there was no reaction, he knew that it was serious and something was wrong. We were about 3 miles outside of Gresham, Nebraska. Not too far, but we didn't have a cell phone. So he goes there, and okay, let me mind you, the sun's going down, and I'm thinking, hey, is he gonna get help? What if he thinks that he's in trouble? What if he doesn't come back? I'm laying here, alone, paralyzed. I started to get scared. I was getting really scared. I just remember saying the Lord's Prayer over and over. Then I hear the sirens go off. In a small town, if there's an emergency, you hear the sirens. So I knew he had gotten help. So he comes back, as drunk as I was, even though I knew it was serious, the last thing I wanted before the ambulance came was a damn cigarette. So I'm laying there paralyzed in the field smoking a cigarette. They come and get me. I tell them what happened. I end up in the hospital, and I just remember they said, hey, how much have you drank? How much have you drank today? And I just said, a lot. And they started scrubbing my mouth. They were about to, get rid of that bacteria. I was about to have some major surgery. That's the last thing I remember. I remember waking up. About 4 or 5 days later, I was in an induced coma. And I woke up with a freaking tube in my throat. And it scared me. I just wake up with a tube in my throat, not knowing where I'm at. I knew I was in a hospital. I can't breathe, so I grabbed that tube and it's coming out. Well, thank God there were some nurses there. They stopped me. And they tied my hands up. And I just remember that being really traumatic, man. Waking up with a freaking tube in your throat. It freaked me out. So I just thank God for the volunteer fire department of Gresham, Nebraska for saving my life that day. I just want to throw that out there. So after the hospital, I ended up in Madonna. The doctor said, hey, you messed up your spinal cord pretty good. Your chances are you're not going to walk again. Slim to none. I remember hearing that, and honestly, everybody's different, but I just remember being in pure shock. No reaction, no emotion, just fuck. That's it. No tears, no crying, just nothing. Okay, so I end up in Madonna. I'm going to therapy. All right, we're right on time. So I'm going to therapy every day. In the evening time, there's not much to do. You got other patients that's your friends, other people that's in your situation going through strokes to spinal cord injuries to brain injuries. So we hang out, and I just remember somebody recommended AA to me. I always knew I was an alcoholic. There was no denying that. I've drank every day since the age of 18. I love the effect alcohol gives me. It's just what do I want to do about it? So look, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if I say her name, but some of you guys know Lois here. She was one of my nurses in Madonna. And I think it was between her and my psychiatrist, my doctor there, that recommended AA. They said, hey, we have AA meetings here, you should go to it. I said, okay, I got nothing else to do. You know, I'll go to an AA meeting. And I just remember I had a neck brace on. I was pretty fresh in my injury. I was in an electric wheelchair at the time. I went to a meeting there Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. They got me a cup of coffee, and that was the first meeting I went to, and that was the first time I said, hi, my name's Tyler, I'm an alcoholic, and I'll never forget it. And I'm sure some of you will never forget your first meeting and the first time you said that. So I went to about 4 meetings there, and they discharged me. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we get this place in York. I can't do anything on my own by myself. I don't know how to get in a bed on my own. I don't know how to brush my teeth on my own. I was just learning how to feed myself. And mind you, I was staying sober, but it wasn't for me. It was because my girlfriend wanted me to. So it was about, I got hurt in August. It was around February. I was sober for 6 months. Then my girlfriend broke up with me, man. She was young. She was 19 years old. I'm newly paralyzed. I can't do a damn thing on my own. You know, I mean, who wants to deal with that? And I still talk to her, and I totally understand. We're friends. So now that she broke up with me, I can drink. Time to drink, and I'll never forget. It was, I'm a big football fan. It was Super Bowl, February 2010. Colts versus the Saints. My friend Tim, big guy, he got me up my friend's stairs, piggybacked me up there. I remember getting a quart of Busch Light, smoking a joint, and that was my first beer after being 6 months sober. But I wasn't doing it for myself. When I was in Madonna, I always had that thought in the back of my head, can I drink again? Can I still drink? It's what I love to do. I love to party. I couldn't imagine not drinking. So I still remember my first beer. Alcohol is a progressive illness. Over any considerable time, we get worse, never better. I was off to the races again. So I get my place in Lincoln, where I'm at now, thanks to my friend Jimmy. He worked at Housing Authority. I prayed about it. I called him up. I said, hey, I'm looking for a handicap accessible place in Lincoln. He said, hey man, the old library, we just remodeled it. Hop on it. I was in there a week later. So now my friends are coming to me and we're partying. They said, yeah, Tyler, we'll come to you, man. I got a big backyard. I mean, at the time, I think, man, they're taking care of me, you know, which they, you know, we were alcoholics. So this went on for years. Okay, now I'm going to speed this up. I'm going to jump to July 2018. I'm in my backyard. Got my 2 best friends over, him and his wife, and I mean, we're drinking. I mean, we got bottles, Busch Light, Fireball shooters, and I like those cheap Hurricane Steel Reserves. I'm an alcoholic. I don't drink for taste. I drink for effect, and they're cheap. I always have one. I always started off with one of those, man. That got me where I wanted to, and then I switched to whatever else. So we got Hennessy going around. We got cheap brandy, E&J, Parmesan, and some tequila. And I just remember being severely intoxicated. We got music going. I'm dancing in my wheelchair, and I flip out my chair. And I just remember kind of flipping out, hitting my head. I'm still halfway in my wheelchair, and I heard and felt a loud pop in my neck. So my friend Tim puts me up. He said, oh shit, man, are you okay? He gets me back in my chair. I said, yeah, I'm okay, but hey, man, I can't move my head. I cannot turn my head. Something's wrong. I bent the hardware in my neck. That's what I'm thinking. Call 911. Here we go again. So he calls 911. The ambulance come and get me. I go through a CT scan. The nurses start asking me how my breathing is. I said, fine, my breathing's fine. How's your arm movement? Fine, everything's fine. They said, well, you dislocated your C2 vertebrae and you fractured your C2 and C3. If any of you don't know that, you got your cervical vertebrae up here, starting with 1. Christopher Reeves sustained a spinal cord injury at his C2 level. I dislocated my C2. That's why they're at. Is this okay? If I would have injured my spinal cord up there, I would have been paralyzed from the chin down on a ventilator. So it was God right there looking out for me, for sure. I go through another major surgery. They fused my whole cervical spine. That's why if you guys ever notice me in meetings, I can't turn my head anymore. It's a lot of body turning. So I go through more rehab. I get home. It's that first weekend I'm home. I got fresh staples in my neck, a neck brace on. Me and Jimmy go to a football game. We're waiting for the bus. We're slamming shooters before the bus comes and gets us. And we're alcoholics here. Usually we'd save some shooters or, for the game, go in the bathroom, mix up a drink. Some of you have done it. We go to the football game. We got some friends waiting for us on the way home. And man, I got really, really, really drunk. I'm fresh out the hospital. About ended up breathing through a tube, completely paralyzed, and here I am. I got a video of me that night where I'm just not there. You can't even hear what I'm saying. I'm just slurring. I'm just that drunk. Now, who does that? They almost end up completely paralyzed from alcohol, get out of the hospital, and go back to drinking. Okay, we're gonna skip to this went on for years too. So there comes a time where you've just had enough. I didn't want to drink anymore, but I couldn't stop drinking. It's just what I did every day. Alcohol was my solution. So I just remember thinking about not quitting drinking for a long time, but it's tough. I just remember laying in my bed one night, really drunk off vodka, and I wanted to pray to God to help me quit drinking. But I was scared to ask for that because I didn't know what sobriety would be like. I couldn't imagine. It says in the big book we couldn't picture life either with alcohol or without alcohol, and that's where I was. But I did. I cried out for God. I said, Lord, please, if it's your will, please help me stop drinking. And I don't know if it was that night or when it was, but it was around that time. I was in bed. I called Brian West Independent Center. I said, hey, I need help. I can't stop drinking. He said, do you need a detox? I said, yes. And I think I remember them saying they wouldn't take my insurance. So I Googled AA Lincoln, Nebraska, and I got a phone number, and I called that. And a guy named Russ answered. I remember telling him, as I'm sobbing and crying, I need help. I can't stop drinking. I drink about a 12-pack a day, which was a lie. So here I'm lying to another alcoholic about my drinking. And I just remember we talked for about 10 minutes, and he said, make me a promise that you will get help. And I said, okay, I promise. And I just remember promising a stranger on the phone of the name of Russ that I would get help. A Vision for You, chapter 11, there's a part in there that says, as we became subjects of King Alcohol, shivering denizens of his mad realm, the chilling vapor that is loneliness thickened. It settled down, it thickened, ever becoming blacker. That's where I was at. I honestly wanted to get sober, I was willing, and I prayed to God, and some things happened. Next thing you know, I'm sober for about 30 days on my own. Still didn't go back to AA. I met my good friend Brian. Some of you know Brian. I bought some hot sauce from him. I met him on Facebook. I like to try different hot sauces. I buy some hot sauce from him and we start talking. I tell him I'm sober. He says, hey, I'm sober too. You want to go to a meeting sometime? I said, sure. I've been to a meeting when I got paralyzed. Yeah, I'm willing to go check out a meeting. I just remember my first couple of meetings. One was Two First, and one was No Name Yet in Belmont. And I met Billy there. which is a really good meeting. I just recently started going back. So I started going to some meetings sometimes. I was 11 months sober. I wasn't going to get a sponsor. I wasn't going to work the steps. Didn't want to read the big book. I got this on my own. I enjoyed going to meetings sometimes. I was going to do it on my own. Well, we've all heard from people in here how that works. I was 11 months sober. One day I was in my room. About midnight. That's when I tend to do my drinking. I like to sit in a dark room. I don't know why. And I like to drink alone. And I had one bush light. And that bush light turned into 2. And then 3. And then 4. I hadn't drank in 11 months. I just remember sitting in my bathroom thinking, oh my God, this feels good. I felt the effect that alcohol gave me that first time. I woke up the next morning. I felt sad, shameful, regretful. I was thinking, man, I just relapsed. I had 4 freaking beers. I just messed up my sobriety. Well, the alcoholic in me said, well, you can have a little fun with it. You can drink tonight. You'll get back to it. Well, I drank that night. Then it was, you can drink this weekend. You can sober up. Well, that weekend turned into a 5-month bender. Not one day was I sober. So, not one day was I sober, and it got dark and deep again real quick. I just remember drinking every night, staying up until the sun came up, sitting out there with one eye open, seeing people going to work as I'm completely shit-faced. The birds are chirping. I'm just thinking, man, I did it again. I stayed up. I'm really drunk. People are going to work, and I'm just going to bed. And it was just day after day after day. I couldn't stop drinking. So one of those days, I was really drunk. I didn't know too many people in AA, but I met a guy at Twofers. So I'm drunk going through my phone, trying to find someone in AA. I see a name that says Jeff, AA. I said, yeah, that's the guy I met at Twofers. I'm going to call him. It's probably 9 a.m. I'm really drunk. He answers, hey, Jeff! Tyler, man, in the wheelchair. I met you at Twofers. I'm really drunk, man, and I can't stop drinking. I need help. And I'm slurring. Probably sound like an idiot. He's probably at work, and he just says, Tyler, you need to get to a meeting, man. And he hung up on me. Sorry if I'm moving around, guys. This wheelchair could be uncomfortable, but I remember thinking, man, that's it. That's all he's going to say to me. Get to a meeting, man. What an asshole. But, you know, he planted that seed. I always remembered what he said. And you've heard this before in meetings. AA will. Hey, a head full of AA does not mix with a belly full of beer or whiskey. As I was getting drunk every night, I was thinking about my sobriety in AA. I was thinking, man, my life was good when I was sober, and now it's complete shit. I was slowly drowning in a pool of alcoholism with the ball and chain strapped to my ankle. And I didn't want to do it anymore. This time, that prayer to God became a lot easier because I knew what sobriety was like. I wasn't scared to quit drinking. I wanted to again. I just couldn't. So I prayed to God again. I remember getting really, you know, when people say they don't get hangovers, they must not drink as much as I did, because I get some of them hangovers. I'm sick for 3 days. So I remember being that hungover, and it's either get up, mix a drink, try to choke it down to feel better, hair of the dog, or lay here in bed and kind of go through a little detox. See, what I did is I always got up and started drinking and feel better. Well, I went through that detox. It was about 3 days in my bed. It was time to get back to AA. I prayed to God. He planted that seed. I went back to a meeting. It was within the first 30 days I ended up here in this room, Monday through Saturday at noon, which is my home group now. I remember I was about 30 days sober. After the meeting, I met a guy named Wendell. He has 55 years of sobriety. We had a chat afterwards. He said, hey, have you found a sponsor yet? I said, no. He says, you need to find one now, don't wait. This time I'm willing to do whatever it took. I'm listening to people, thinking, okay, I need to listen to this guy. So after the meeting in the parking lot, I seen Tim walking by. I said, hey, Tim, you want to be my sponsor? First guy I seen, Wendell said, find one now, don't wait. He said, yeah, okay. I go to Twofers a lot, and I go to this new meeting. We'll go from there. Claire gave me one of these cards one time. You guys have probably seen them. It says, thoroughly follow the path. Number 1, don't drink. Number 2, go to meetings. Number 3, get a sponsor. Number 4, read the big book. Number 5, work all 12 steps in order. This time, I'm listening to what people are telling me. I'm remaining teachable. I need to do what my sponsor says. I got a sponsor. Going to a meeting every day. I start working the steps slowly. I meet a man by the name of Chuck McBride. He starts working the steps with me. By the way, just yesterday, there was a solution meeting. This is crazy. I was talking about Chuck. I said I did my 5th step with him right here. One thing he always told people, he always greeted people, he always told the newcomers, you go to a lot of meetings, you meet as many people as you can. And over time as you meet people, it's going to get easier to go to meetings. And right before I said that, the lights flickered and went out for about 4 seconds. Everybody just laughed, some were in shock, and some of us said, hi Chuck. And that was it. I said, well, we'll just end it there. Love you, Chuck. So Billy kind of mentioned something about, hey man, he says, you know, the spiritual part of this program is like the wet part of the ocean. It's all spiritual. He was mentioning how we're all synchronized in a way. I believe in my heart that was Chuck right there sending the message. Okay. Ooh, I better wrap this up. Okay, now I'm sober. I'm going to talk about the things that I do in sobriety and what's helping me stay sober one day at a time. Go to new meetings. I enjoy going to new meetings. You can get a meeting list. If you just Google meetings, Lincoln, Nebraska, you can find a website that has meetings. Sometimes I enjoy just going to a new meeting and being that newcomer, like Chuck said. Go to as many meetings as you can, meet people, get numbers, and you'll find that meetings is a lot easier to go to when you start meeting people. But it's still fun to go to a meeting and be the newcomer. Being in a wheelchair, I can't do a lot of service work, but I can do enough, which is simple, you know. Easiest 12 step you can do is share your experience, strength, and hope at a meeting. Just share it. That's service work. I appreciate all the people here that helps get my coffee. You know, I don't mind giving people a ride to a meeting if it's not too far out of my way. This right here is a big one for me. Getting up here, telling my story, man. I mean, I was terrified. But I've done it before. Someone told me you can't mess up your own story, so I consider this a little service work. I want to talk about my father. My mother and my father's side, we all suffer from alcoholism. My father, we used to drink a lot together. We almost went to court together. We almost ended up in jail together, and now we're sober together. He's got 2.5 years of sobriety, which is awesome. And we talk all the time. I want to talk about something too about miracles. One day I was sharing at a meeting, I said, you know what, it's a miracle I quit drinking. It's a freaking miracle. And afterwards, you know, I'm an alcoholic, I overthink stuff. I was thinking to myself, is that really a miracle? People quit drinking all the time. You know, a miracle is me walking out of this chair, the blind seeing someone surviving a terminal illness. I'll tell you what, us being here and being sober is a freaking miracle because people are dying from this freaking disease every day. And some people don't get the chance or don't end up here in the program Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. So yes, we're here, we're sober, it's a freaking miracle. What's that, guys? I'm going to close with this. Every Tuesday at my noon meeting up here, we read chapter 11 of Vision for You. When I was drinking all the time, I couldn't imagine not drinking, and how am I going to have fun without drinking? Well, now that I've met people in AA, I'm a member of AA, I love this part, guys. It says, have you a sufficient substitute? Yes, there is a substitute. It is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. Thus will you find the fellowship, and so will you. I've heard a saying in here. We don't care if you're from Park Avenue or Park Bench or Yale or jail. We all got the same last name here. And I'm forever grateful for the program Alcoholics Anonymous and everybody in it, because you guys show me what to do and what not to do. And I love you all. My name's Tyler. I'm an alcoholic. That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Tyler.